At 10, a Midtown couple is waiting for answers as to why a Mobile police officer shot the couple's two dogs in their backyard. One of the dogs died in the driveway. The other survived. Local 15's Darwin Singleton spoke with the couple today, and Darwin, their anger about the ordeal has not subsided.
No, it hasn't, Derek. Mark and Lynn Yeager spent part of this weekend burying a family pet they've loved for 12 years and playing nurse to another. Meanwhile, Mobile police say they've started their own internal investigation to see if the officer who fired those shots acted properly. Mark Yeager glanced out of his den window Friday afternoon, and what he saw would shake his family to the core. A police officer, gun drawn, walking down his gated driveway into his backyard.
I saw him backing up, and bam, bam.
And Yeager says he heard something else. He heard his dogs, Boviday and Alfred, let out painful yelps.
And I walked down the porch, and I just couldn't believe it, you know.
That officer had just shot both dogs. Boviday would survive, but his brother Alfred would not.
The dog that survived was standing right there by me with blood all over him, and the other one was laying on the ground. It took him about 15 minutes to die, and I stayed with him until he died.
The whole mess began a short time earlier just across the street on the Murphy High School campus. Police tell Local 15 News that's where officers had been interviewing a suspicious subject, a subject who took off, and then the search was on. A search that led one lone police officer to their very back door.
They thought of Mark and I as their mother.
Mark's wife, Lynn, says they never intended to keep Boviday and Alfred, two rescue pups they were just going to foster and then give up for adoption. But
they kept sending people to adopt them out, and every time they did, I just said I can't do it.
Over the next 12 years, the dogs watched over the family, lording over the Yeagers' backyard until Friday.
I would have expected someone to knock on my door and say, "We're going to search your yard. Please do not go outside. Keep your doors locked and don't go outside." I could have just as easily walked out that back door as gunshots are fired.
What troubles a couple even more is the fact that their 7-year-old granddaughter is a fixture in that backyard too.
She could have very easily been back there. Her and I could have been back there.
At one point, I said, "Why didn't someone knock on my door to tell me you needed to search my yard?" And he said, "Well, it's daytime, and we generally assume that there's no one home during the day."
Internal Affairs has opened an investigation, something that happens when an officer fires his weapon. And generally, they do not discuss details until a report is filed. But as the department shoulders that task, the Yeagers took up a task of their own.
Buried Alfred right over here on the side of the garage. He's buried right there.
So who were police looking for that day and why? Well, right now, all they can tell us is that they made an arrest. The charges, eluding police and failure to obey. The department has yet to identify who that person is, Derek.